Here is the recap of the first season of Three-Body Problem. Suddenly scientists around the world began to notice that their scientific equipment began to show completely different results than predicted by theories. The best scientists began to shut down their projects and a few even took their own lives. The intelligence agencies thought this was strange, as there were some common details to these deaths. Most of the people who died seemed to have gone insane. They kept talking about some sort of countdown, that they could not get rid of it in any way. The head of British intelligence, named Wade, assigns Detective Dashi to figure out what is going on, and gives him all the resources to do so. This series is around so-called Genius 5, gins in the field of multidimensional physics. Saul worked at one of the largest hydrogen collider. Augie started her own company making super strong material. Will's a brilliant physicist, but he only teaches, and then there's their best friend millionaire Jack. One day Augie begins to see a countdown in front of her eyes. She thinks she's going crazy. Soon a stranger named Tatiana sits down and tells her that the only way to stop the countdown is to close her science project. She warns that it is better that she does not know what will happen if the timer reaches 0. Tatiana realizes that Augie won't believe her, so she suggests that next midnight she look at the sky. Augie and Saul look up at the stars. Suddenly it's like the whole universe starts to winking. All the people on Earth see it. Saul recognizes it as Morse code, which repeats the same numbers as on the counter in Augie's eyes. Augie doesn't understand how it's all connected. But out of desperation she orders her subordinates to stop the further developments, and after that timer disappears. Later Jin goes to the mother of their dead friend and finds a strange virtual reality helmet among her belongings. An elderly woman named Yi Wenji allows her to take the strange helmet with her. At home Jin puts on the helmet and finds herself in an incredibly elaborate virtual reality, which is the level 1. Here she can smell odors and even feel touch soon. Where her mission is to solve the riddle of the world, where she named herself as Copernicus. She showed it to her millionaire friend Jack, and when he tried to play it, he was killed by saying you are not invited. Later he also gets the invitation with his own virtual reality helmet, and the two of them try to understand what kind of game it is. The first level was to convince the local ruler that the cause of all the troubles is not some magic, but physics. The goal of the player is to predict the movement of the sun and find the stable era. If they are wrong, entire civilization will be destroyed. The second level, Jin and Jack plays together to solve the same problem. She tells the ruler about the causes of these disasters. It turns out that their planet orbits around 3 suns. Because of that the chaotic movement occur. Later this civilization got destroyed by tri-solar day. In this level Jin learned the basic structure of the star system. In the third level, they must calculate a mathematical model of the movement of the 3 suns, but Jin, being a brilliant physicist, informs that the 3-body problem is not calculable and the main task for the local ruler is to save people. It turns out that this was the solution of the third level. After that Jin and Jack are invited to a personal meeting with the organizers of this game. Meanwhile Detective Dashi reports to his boss Wade that they discovered a virtual reality helmet from one of the dead scientists, and realized that this technology is years ahead of what mankind has. This helmet doesn't just show a picture and give a sense of reality, it also reads all the information about a person. Dashi assumes that some organization is recruiting people in this way. The detective interrogates Augie and asks why she shut down her project. Augie thinks the man won't believe her. Dashi shows her a video of her, where supposedly talking to Tatiana. It shows her sitting alone, but for some reason the cigarette lit up by itself. Augie thinks there is some kind of conspiracy and the people responsible for it have super technology. At meantime Jin and Jack go to a private meeting with the organizers of the game, where they meet Tatiana. She is very pleased that the protagonists were able to understand and tells them the true purpose of this virtual game. In the level 4, they are welcomed with Sofan. She explained there is no solution to the 3-body problem. No computer can predict the behavior of 3 bodies and every civilization will end in chaos. She then says that their planet will be destroyed. Jin and Jack realize this is true and it's not a virtual reality game. Of course they look different, but everything that was shown there is true. Their race, which is called Sante, Long ago they realized that on their planet they cannot survive. Sooner or later some cataclysmic event will destroy them completely. So the only way to survive is to find another planet to inhabit. In fact, a huge fleet of them is on its way to Earth, and will be here in 400 years. They found a way to communicate with some humans and made an agreement. Now their organization is helping Santi with some things like recruiting new associates, and also destroying science so that humans won't be able to stand up to the aliens in 400 years. Jack got shocked by what he hears and leaves. But Jin agrees to join their ranks. After that she is invited to a big meeting of their organization where she gets acquainted with their leader. We are taken back to 1966. China is undergoing a cultural revolution. Many scientists are being executed for their scientific work. The father of a brilliant student named Ye Wenji was killed in front of her. The girl is sent to a corrective labor camp but is soon imprisoned because of her views. However, because of her smartness she is sent to a secret facility, where she has to work for the rest of her life. The Chinese have created a powerful radio transmitter and send signals into space hoping to hear the response of another civilization. But after many years have not heard any answer, Wenji uses the sun as a signal amplifier. It was something no one has ever tried before, and after 8 years she gets a response. She received response from alien civilization asking her not to send any more messages. It turns out he's the only one who's picked up the human signal, and if others find out about it they will definitely try to take over the Earth. Wenji has long been disappointed in humans and believes that humanity's only chance for the better future is to be enslaved by a more powerful race, so she sends another message into space calling for them to come and take over humanity. There Wenji meets a man named Mike, who is also disappointed in humanity. Years later when the girl leaves China, they meet again. It turns out Mike has become incredibly rich, and Wenji tells him about that signal from space. The man supports her plan. They buy a huge ship with an antenna. They begin to communicate with aliens. Taishiana kills Jack because he knew too much. Later Jin met Wade and Dashi. They convinced Jin to meet the organization and be a spy for them. We are shown Mike, who built a huge ship with an antenna, has been communicating with the aliens all these years. He told aliens about the humans, and in exchange the Santi supplied them with information about what was going on. Somehow the aliens can see everything that happens on Earth. Mike tells Santi the tale of Little Red Riding Hood, as suddenly the aliens realize one non-obvious detail about humanity: humans can lie. The Santi on the other hand are unfamiliar with such a concept. They are shocked by what they hear and realize that they can no longer trust. They cut off all communication with them. Just then Jin goes to a meeting of organization accompanied by a SWAT team. The Santi didn't warn their former friends about it, so the police arrested everyone at the meeting including the old lady. Wenji, the woman, thinks that if the aliens allowed them to be arrested, then they have some kind of plan, so she has no problem putting out what she thinks is irrelevant information. However, Wade comes up with a plan to stop all the other cult followers on the ship, while taking all the data they have on the aliens. The plan is to stretch a special string created by Augie. They installed the fiber material between the two banks of the canal, which will tear the ship, passing it into pieces. This killed everyone on the ship. Later Wade discovered the hard drive. It is encrypted, and it's impossible to decrypt. To decrypt data it can take up to 3.8 billion years. Later Santi themselves allow it to be decrypted. It contains a file that the aliens want to show. Wade and Jean put on virtual reality helmets. Santi tells them their story. It turns out they are afraid of humanity, as they are developing at incredibly fast speed. Humans have developed their technology in such a short period of time, which took Santi hundreds of thousands of years. When the aliens received a signal from Earth, they immediately began building a fleet to travel. However, there was a big problem with communication. The distance was too great and the signal traveled was several years, so their scientists took a proton, made it the size of a planet and created a supercomputer with artificial intelligence. Then they shrunk it back down. Each of the so-called Sophin was connected to its copy, and messages can pass between the pair instantly regardless of distance. With almost no mass, they can travel at the speed of light. Two were sent to Earth and their pairs are with Santi. It is because of the Sophins that the aliens interfered with physicist, scientific research, and it is because of them that they can see and hear everything that is happening on Earth at any given time. The Santi report that they can no longer trust humans, and will never get along with beings capable of living on the same planet, so they declare war. The Safin turns around on the entire Earth and creates a projection of an eye. The Earth is in chaos with the realization that in 400 years aliens will come to our planet. The governments are beginning to think about how they're going to deal with the problem. Another guy from the Genius 5, named Will. He's been in love with Jin for a long time, but he can't admit it to her. One day he finds out that he has cancer and only has a couple months to live. After Jack's death, Will inherits 20 million from him. Will decide to gift Jin a star with all that money, but he doesn't tell her it was from him. Soon the head of British intelligence, Wade, proposes to carry out a daring plan. He wants to send a man to meet the Santi fleet, who will fly there for 200 years in a hibernation capsule. According to the plan, the aliens will want to get the man to study him, and in the meantime the man will try to send all the information about Santi to mankind. Wade realizes that the aliens already know about his plan, but the man doesn't care, as he is sure that the Santi will still take the man to their ship for study. After a while, Wade learns that they can't send the whole body into space, so they decide to send only the brain, hoping that the Santi will restore the body with their superior technology. Wade realizes that the best candidate is Will, who only has a few days to live. The guy agrees and his brain is sent into space. However, something goes wrong. His trajectory goes astray, after which the spaceship is carried away into the endless void. Also, Wade recruits Raj, boyfriend of Jin. He is a military man, and soon the man asks to be transferred to the space fleet, which is secretly being built on the moon. Ogi is still suffering from the fact that she was the one who killed hundreds of people on that very ship. She decides to leave her friends and goes to poor countries, where she uses her technology to help ordinary people. Meanwhile, Wade allows Tashi to let the old woman go, as he doesn't see her as a threat. The woman goes to China to an abandoned radio tower, where she meets Tashiana. It turns out that Tashiana is still communicating with aliens, who have a new plan to destroy humanity. Few days later, one of the members of the Genius 5, Saul, almost dies in a car accident. Dashi reveals that it was an assassination attempt by aliens. Clueless Saul is loaded onto an airplane and sent to a United Nations meeting. That's where they announce Project Wallfacer. With the Safins in existence, it's impossible to hide any information. They are the perfect invisible spies. It's impossible to make any clever strategy. However, there is one place the aliens can't get into, and that's the human brain. They don't know what humans are thinking. That's why Project Wallfacer was created. 3 people will be given unlimited powers. They can request absolutely any resources, and any of their orders will be obeyed unconditionally. The task of these people is to come up with a tricky strategy to destroy Santi and keep it only in their heads, until the very end. In addition to 2 very important figures, Saul has also made the Wallfacer. The guy is shocked, as he doesn't really know what he is supposed to do. He announces that he is giving up the position, but everyone starts to agree with him, thinking that he has already started to fulfill his plan to become a Wallfacer. Saul exits the building and is immediately shot with a sniper rifle, but he survives. Turns out it was one of Santi's followers. Dashi, who was assigned to him for protection, convinces him to take the mission seriously. This is the end of the first season. Let me know which series or movie recap do you need next. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and click the like button. Thanks for watching.